I want to kind of go into another category. I want to talk about, let's get some like bold predictions out here. Okay. Some bold predictions that you guys may have for the season. I'll start because I want to give you guys maybe a little bit of time to think, but I think that in the season, Brian Thomas Jr. will have more receiving yards than Calvin Ridley had in 2023. I think that everything we've seen, I think everything that we've seen from Brian Thomas Jr., I don't know, like there might be some kind of acclimation period, but I mean, I think he's going to have some games where he explodes. And the fun thing about this preseason is that, we saw three different elements to his game. We saw the deep ball, it was contested ball. He was unofficially pass interfered with, and he caught it. We saw one where he ran a really nice route and then, caught a toe drag swag type of thing on the sideline. And then in the final game, we saw him as a horizontal threat, get the ball and run all the way down the field. I think it was like a 39-yard catch. He had the most yards per reception in this in the preseason of any NFL wide receiver. So that is one of my bold predictions. How do you guys feel about that?
I want to hear Jordan. I want to hear Jordan before I go. I want to see if he steals mine.
Well, I like that one a lot. I just think it could be difficult because the Jaguars did force feed Ridley last year. And so I think that did pump up the numbers a little bit. And Brian Thomas Jr., I think it's going to be a really balanced passing attack. So I think he will be more efficient than Ridley was last year. I do. Looking at my bold prediction, I think the Jaguars running game, I think that their offensive line in the running game is going to be significantly improved. I think that they're going to average 4.4 yards per carry on the ground this year.
Ooh.
After averaging like 3.9 last year, something like that. So I think ETN's ability to obviously explode through the gaps when they're there is going to be huge in that regard. He's going to help out the offensive line, but I think that this running game gets on track.
I think that's bolder than my prediction.
And that's not me saying I think that they're going to be super consistent. I think that they're going to be able to bust off big chunk runs this year on the ground with Travis Etienne.
So, yeah, let's hear from you, Jason. I know you're a big offensive line believer in this Jaguars.
Well, it's hard. I get it. I mean, if you look early in the season before they went and crapped themselves, they were averaging a pretty decent yards per. Team was playing pretty well. They were running the ball pretty well. Something happened. I don't know what it was, but I haven't seen that yet. So I haven't seen them back to that initial form. So if they could, that would be great. I don't know. My bold prediction, I think I'm going to have two here real quick. I think Evan Ingram, and I know this doesn't sound so bold after last week, but I think Evan Ingram leads the team in touchdowns this year as far as pass receptions. So I think, and because after last year, he obviously didn't get in the end zone a bunch. And I think this year with more weapons around him, it's going to space the defensive coverage in the red zone and not allow them to play as compact. And because with the threats of Brian Thomas Jr. on the back pylon, Gabe Davis along the back of the end zone, Christian Kirk with those out routes and those arrow routes, I think you're just going to open up a lot for Evan Ingram. And I think
why didn't they go to Evan Ingram more in the end? Because I remember when we were having red zone struggles, it was like we don't ever throw to Evan Ingram, and he's a huge body. Why is it that it didn't really start coming until later in the year?
I mean, I think
it was just a mistake.
Yeah, Trevor was kind of just choosing options that weren't him. As simple as that sounds, like he was going for those back pylons. He was going for, scrambling into the end zone or hitting ETN shallow and trying to let him fight for it. They ran the ball a lot when they got on the goal line. I think this year you'll see more of Evan Ingram. My second bold prediction, and this is super bold, but I don't care. I think Travon Walker ends the season with more sacks than Josh Hines Allen. I think because what we've seen in the preseason so far is where last season we saw Travon Walker getting the double teams. In the preseason, we saw Hines Allen getting the double teams and Travon Walker being left by himself. You bring in Arik Armstead, who can play all along the D line. You allow Travon Walker to actually get an interior push on some packages. And I think you're going to see him back in his natural position. And he was already pretty good playing out of position last year. Another year of development and now an extra focus on Hines Allen on that side. I think there's a chance you see Travon Walker kind of go off this year and lead the team in sacks.
Yeah, I had a bold prediction too about sacks.
I had one too.
Okay.
Say it at 3. 1, 2, 3. Velociraptor. Oh wait, no.
40 sacks for the
40
trio.
sacks.
For the trio.
I was about to say I think that Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and Eric Armstead each get double-digit sacks.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, it's just I think it's a good, and obviously we have to be in have a lot of leads for that to happen. We got to be in a lot of passing situations. But man, like I know with Travis Gibson going, which I don't know. Jordan, are you okay after that trade? Are you all right? Were you?
I don't think it
emotional?
was smart, but
Okay.
I'm okay. Like I still think that they have, like I've said, like they have interior defensive linemen that can play defensive end if they need it. But was he their third best edge rusher? In my opinion, yes.
Yeah, and now I think the big thing compared this year to last year is that the Jaguars, outside of Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, had nobody that could rush the passer. And then now, obviously you have Eric Armstead. You have, some interior guys like, Mason Smith should be able to get after it. Devon Hamilton is also a guy that, when healthy, he's able to get after it, and he looks pretty good so far. And obviously,
Maniac, he asked me a question. I'm going to answer it, bro.
Let's hear it. Oh, let it go. I'm just going back. If you guys are a loyal club Jack, if you guys have been in the club, okay, since July, I went around and kind of asked who your guys is. I think it was like who's your dark horse candidate or something. And Jordan went with Travis Gibson, but he's gone now. I mean, the Jaguars were planning to cut him, and obviously, I think it says something about Miles Cole where the Jaguars wanted to keep this freakish athlete. I think it kind of says, hey, maybe this guy actually has something, because, if he can put it together fundamentally, I mean, Miles Cole has some insane measurables. So
yeah, and he played his ass off in the preseason.
Yeah, and that's
he did so much better than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I asked Jordan about it. I said, hey, how do you feel about, we went through the draft picks. How do you feel about Miles Cole? And I know Jordan was like, like I don't see it coming. And it's good to see rookies being able to push some veterans off the team, because if Miles Cole, if he turns into a good player, I mean, we got 4 years of very, very cheap labor and obviously tremendous upside with him. So yeah, that's something definitely to look forward to. But I guess another question I might have for you guys is, who do you guys think will lead the team in interceptions in 2024?
I got my answer.
Go for it.
Andre Cisco. You saw Jesse Bates do it last year. Same situation, same defense. I think that Andre Cisco, not only does he have a bag to earn, but he's the most natural ball hawk as well. And I think he's in a situation where he can go get that job done. I think he'll get 5 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, that was my immediate thought was Andre Cisco as well. I mean, you saw him. He's always around the ball. Even at Syracuse, he was always around the ball. And that was one of the things
he led college football.
Yeah.
During his time in college football, he was the interceptions leader.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if Campbell can get back to form, he's always around the ball too. He's always there. But I think
they're going to target the other side more.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Cisco will play if they do what we've seen in the preseason, Nielsen runs a lot of that one high safety, and Cisco's that guy. And so he's going to be at a higher likelihood of being able to be around the ball. Whereas like a boundary corner, not only do you have to target him, it has to be a throw that he can make a break on. So Cisco, just probability wise, I think will be at a much higher likelihood of being around the ball on deep throws and jump balls and over the middle of the field type plays where you have an easier chance at getting an interception. So I think he would be my betting favorite.
And I'm curious with you guys, so I know Ryan Nielsen, he confuses me a little bit with exactly what's going on in the defensive backfield. Because I mean, right now, like Darnell Savage is like listed as safety on the roster and everything. And then, but he's more so expected to be playing like slot corner. You see, you drafted Jarian Jones in the 3rd round, but it almost looked like he was sometimes like playing like linebacker. Almost, it looked like. I don't know. Like, what do you? can you guys see like a plan for what exactly Ryan Nielsen is doing, or do you guys need a lot more sample size to really get your like head around what he foresees for this defense?
I think if you watched him in Atlanta, it's going to be a lot of tendency breaking. There's going to be different looks each week, especially on third downs, especially in the red zone. And if a guy has a skill set that can function in a specific role, in a specific package, even if it's only a couple times throughout the year, they're going to do that. And I think I love that about Ryan Nielsen. He's going to try to confuse his opponents. He's going to try to confuse uh, his opponents every single week, and he's going to respect all of his opponents as well. And so I just really think that Ryan Nielsen, the way he can switch things up and get guys to be able to execute, and it's not just him, it's also his staff. Chris Richard wasn't with him last year, but I think Chris Richard, his ability to coach these guys up as well, and the rest of that staff, I've just been really impressed. And I think anywhere that Nielsen has been impressive. So it's not just like, seeing him in Jacksonville for the first time is making me say all this. He has been an impressive defensive coach for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jordan, the word he used there where he kind of nailed it was a tendency breaker. If you look back at Super Bowl 2001, Bill Belichick, when they played the Rams, their only goal on defense was to just hit, was it Marshall Faulk every single play? And like, it doesn't matter where he went on the field, if he was in pass, if he was in running, they were going to hit him every single time because they saw that Marshall Faulk was the key to that offense. So if he did well, the offense did well, and they were able to shut him down in the Super Bowl. And I think Nielsen has a little bit of Belichick in him where he's going to identify the strength of the offense and then just key in on that and attack that. Like Jordan said, you look back at him in Atlanta, there was entire games where they were in an odd man front, like our front last year. And I was like, wait a second. I was told Ryan Nielsen was an even man, 4-man front guy. And I just watched a whole game of them being an odd man front. So I think when like we actually get to live bullets, we're talking all this about, oh, this guy's going to be at this technique and this guy's going to be this technique. I think you're going to see the most random crap of all time. And it's just going to be like, oh, well, that's random. Like you said, Dalton, they had Jerry and Jones at the strong side backer in the dime package. It's like, okay, like probably didn't see that coming when we drafted him, but I think it's going to be fun to watch. And it's going to be hard for any Jag fan to say, like, this is what he's going to do. We have no clue until we see it.
So is it a little like, because I think one of the complaints about Mike Caldwell's defense was that it was a little bit confusing at times. Maybe players didn't really know where to be. Do you think that with all these different formations and all these different like looks that we're given, does that add a lot more complexity to this defense, or is there a way to kind of do it without overwhelming the defensive players?
I don't think it had anything to do with the scheme. I think it had to do with the coaching.
I agree. Yep. Because when you hear the reports after the season of like the defensive coaches like getting into it with the offensive coaches, and even when you look at the tendencies of the defense, they completely changed halfway through the season as far as blitzing and blitzing them out. And it was just like, I agree. It was the coaching. These guys have played football their entire lives. If you ask them to move over half of a gap and to attack a gap from that spot, it's not going to completely ruin them, right? So I think I agree 100%. It was more coaching than it was a complicated scheme.
Yeah. And I guess one last thing I want to say is I think Maniac Slap has a good question. How has Antonio Johnson been looking? I know I feel like we haven't talked too much about him, but he is a starter. So are you guys feeling comfortable about this? Do you guys think that I guess he'll be an upgrade over, who was it, Rayshawn Jenkins from last year? How are you guys feeling overall about Antonio Johnson stepping in there?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I love his skill set. And I asked Ryan Nielsen about him today and how he's grown since, day one of this offseason going into the regular season. And he said he's just grown so much as a pro, learning how to be a pro and maturing and getting on a consistent schedule. And now that he's going into the regular season, that schedule will be adjusted as well. But just growing from the maturity level, professionalism level, learning from the older guys, learning from the coaching staff. And I think those are everything you want to hear because he has the physical ability. Like, this guy has length. He can cover ground. He's a physical tackler. He plays the ball aggressively. I think that he's going to be an upgrade over Rayshawn Jenkins.
Yeah, I mean, Jason. Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see him in the box a lot, either over a tight end or playing like the strong side of a run. And I think he does that pretty well. And I think he'll be fine there. I mean, I know Savage was supposed to be the nickel, but I think that's probably kind of where I don't know. He played a lot of free safety in the preseason too. So, I mean, I think you're going to see him more in the box, and it's just going to be, can he read his keys? Can he get to the ball carrier? Can he keep an outside shoulder free when engaging in a block? And finally, can he cover the tight ends on these short routes and, bump them to where his help is deep in the secondary? And I think he can do those things. I don't think we're asking him too much to do a lot. It's outside of his skill set. I don't know if I'm as big on him as Jordan is, because I still want to see more out of him before I'm like, all right,
I
we're
do
good
too.
there. But
I'm just talking about his skill set. I mean,
right.
The skill set is there.
Right. We got to see if he can do it.